Hello world and welcome to the next part of the tutorial. And in today's tutorial we are going to be discussing HUD. What are HUDs? If you've been following this tutorial, you've already know what HUDs are. HUDs stands for heads of display. So just think of it as uh, like a secondary window when you are playing your game. So it's like an overlay that display all relevant information. For example, if you've played games with combat system like RPG games, they have HUDs. Like the inventory is HUDs, but in this simple game, our HUDs are going to be containing the player health and the player score and the player bullet. The player bullet is just some nice juice that we are going to be adding to our games. I believe I've discussed what juice are in the previous tutorial. So let's go ahead and add HUD to our game. Sorry, just please give me a minute. I'll be back very shortly. Okay, so welcome back to the tutorial, and so let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, let's create a new scene, and most of the time when you are creating HUDs, you are going to be using some specialized nodes that we use when creating HUDs. And so we are going to be introducing new nodes in this tutorial. So first of all, uh, ensure that your root node, the main root node of your HUD scene, is actually a canvas layer node. The reason why we are using this is because of, well, let's first check the description. A node used for independent rendering of objects within a 2D scene. And what was meant by this was like, when you are creating your HUDs, you don't want the HUDs to be moving with the camera. You want their position to remain fixed relative to the camera, so that when the camera moves, they don't leave the view, the main camera view. And so this is why I recommend using canvas layer as the root node. So let's go ahead and add it. You can simply rename this to HUD, and well, now let's go ahead and save our scene. And so when if we want to add the health or the score or the bullet, there are different ways to achieve this effect in Godot. Uh, sorry. So the first one is to just use plain text to display the health or the scores or the bullets. So to display any text, we use the label node in Godot. So you can already see the description over here, a control for displaying plain text. So, but of course we have the rich text label that gives you more intuitive control over the text formatting. So, but we are going to be sticking with label for the text part, because don't forget there are different ways to display the health, the bullet, scores to the player. So now we've created a text, but of course we don't call them text over here, we call them labels. So To add the text to the label, you are going to go under the properties tab over here, or the inspector tabs over here, and you're going to change the text property to whatever you want to display. So you can use it to display health 0. So well, the player died obviously, because if the player hasn't died, the health is supposed to be greater than 0. So you already see that, wow, we have our very first HUD. But of course, this isn't the approach that we are going to use in this tutorial. So what I firstly want to explain was the margin container node. If you look at this node very well, you realize that the nodes, the test nodes are, or let's just call it the label node for simplicity. So you can already see that it is displayed as the origin, which is the 0 0 coordinate over here, and most of the time you don't want your player Z to stand over here. You want to move it down a bit. And so to add uh all these extra spaces to your node, you are going to be using the margin container node. So there are a lot of container nodes, and we explain quite a bit uh, in this tutorial or future tutorials. But for now, let's go ahead and add the margin container node. And so you want to make sure that the margin container is the parent of the label. So now we are still not going to see that much difference, but now we can click on this margin container, go under the theme overrides over here, go under the constants, and then we can change the margins that this margin container is applying to all its children. So that means since the label is only the children for now, it is going to apply to only labels. Okay, now you can already see that we are adding some margin at the top. Let's check it. I mean, the margin that we're adding at the top is that is 50. The margin that we're adding at the left from this place, and that is also 50. From the right, that is 20, and from the bottom we are adding no margin at all. And so this is very useful, so that our labels or other nodes that we are using for our HUD doesn't get stuck at this origin point over here. And so now I'm going to explain two nodes quickly, the box container and the box container. And so let us say that we already have our margin container, we've set our margins, but now we are looking for like a way to arrange all the children's either vertically or horizontally. By vertical I mean all the children's get stacked vertically. For example, think of it as menu. We can have the play button here, we can have about, we can have settings, we can have a seat button, and so that is what we use the box container for. And for box also the same thing, but instead of arranging the children's vertically, they are going to be arranged horizontally. And so right now what we are going to do is this. we're going to be adding more nodes, more label nodes. So to duplicate the nodes that we currently have on the scene, we're going to click we're going to click Ctrl D, and so now we should have 4 label nodes. The reason why we are not seeing any differences is because, well, we can already notice some slight and subtle differences, because you can already see that the health is very much darker and more bold. The reason why we are saying that is because we actually have 4 tests displayed on the scene. The reason why we are seeing it like just a test is because we are displaying all the 4 tests in the same position, and so that is why we are seeing this. And so now let us say that we want to display all these labels horizontally. So let's go ahead and add the HBox container. So you can check the description over here. A container that arranges its child controls horizontally. Don't forget the words that were used here. Uh, its child controls horizontally. So let's go ahead, and now we're going to move all the label nodes as the child of the HBox container, and watch what was being showed over here. You can already see how they are stacked horizontally. And so this is label 1, label 2, label 3, label 4. And so this might actually be very useful for our HUD. For example, let's say you want to display health over here, but you also want to display something else over here. So the reason why we are using all these HBox and FitBox containers is because we want to keep things organized as want to keep things as organized as we can, as best as we can. And so uh, to check for that of the FitBox container, we don't have to delete the HBox container. Don't forget, if you delete a parent node, all the child get deleted. So actually what you are going to do is, we might have noticed that if we over the HBox container, we get this little description that says the name of the node is HBox container, but there is also a type. So the type is actually what matters in when you are developing games in Godot. So if this is also a canvas layer, but the type is not a canvas layer, we won't be getting the result that we want. So the naming actually doesn't really matter. What matters the most is the type. And so now what you are going to do is you are going to right click the HBox container, click on change type over here, and now we are going to change this to FitBox container. And voila, we're going to see that well, we are getting our labels stacked. Instead of horizontally, we are actually getting it stacked vertically. Don't forget, it is still HBox container, but the type is now FitBox container. So to avoid confusion, you can go ahead and rename it to FitBox container. And so I believe we've covered a lot about the nodes that were used when creating HUD, and we are actually going to stick with label for this relatively simple game and a very small game. You don't want to go into the advanced topic yet. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get started in creating our HUD. First of all, I'm going to delete the Fibos container, and let's go ahead and add HBoss container. And I'm going to quickly discuss about uh, what this little, I think this is the anchor. So we can easily use this to set how our container is going to be displayed in uh, in our scene. So you can set it to top left, uh, center top, top right, or top wide, or however you want to set it. So when we click on this, we already get a visual uh, a visual preview of what is going on. So we are getting that little nice feedback over there. So we can actually set the magic container to take the size of the full screen by just clicking this full rect over here. But we don't want that. We want it to take the top wide because we want our HUD to stay at the top. And so the first HBoss container, we can also set uh how we are actually going to like how it is going to get displayed as the child of whatever it is a child of, which is in this case is the margin container. And so you can set it to shrink begin, just like this is actually a little bit different from the anchor preset that I'm using over here. And so you can set it to if you want to set it to take the full width available, you can just click the under the horizontal alignment, you can click the fill. If you want it to take the vertical space available, you can click the vertical element and go ahead and click the fill. Okay, so now we are going to add two label nodes for uh, for the health and for the score. And so this is going to be the health, and this is going to be the score. And so you can easily set the health to equal 100 to begin with. So 100 is the max health, and the score is obviously 0. And since we want the score to actually align to the right over here, we don't want it to get stacked with the health. So you can easily go to the score nodes, go over the alignment, and now first of all we want to click this expand so that it is not shrinking the size to the only space that the node is going to take. Don't forget, this score is only going to take this space, and that is why we are getting this little, I think it's orange, this little visual representation of the size of the nodes. So in this case the score node. So by clicking expand, you can already see that we've resized the node to take the full width that it can actually take. And so we want to align it to shrink end. We want to align it over here. So and voila, now we have this nice HUD. And now let's discuss more about the labels. So label node has this label setting over here. So let's go ahead, click the new label setting, click on it, and under it we can set the font for our text. So you can easily do this if you have a font file, probably in a TTF file. You just drag it from over here and drag it to the font property over here. We can change the size of our text over here. You can change the color, so you can just give it any color you want, and you can add an outline. You can give the outline a color. You can add a shadow. Don't forget to turn on the alpha. So alpha just means the transparency, how transparency a color is. So, and we can set the offset of our shadow over here, but actually we're not going to be using any of these for now. So what we are going to do is we are going to change the size of the text to, let us use 24. I think 24 is okay, and we are going to change the color of the HUD. We are going to change it to red, and our score, we're also going to use the red color. And now let's go ahead and save this scene. So we can just drag the HUD scene so over our main scene, just drag it anywhere. Don't forget it is going to position it not relative to any position, but actually what you are going to get is a position, since we are using canvas layer as the root node. So let's go ahead and run our scene. And of course we are getting the HUD displayed properly. Okay, this is great. And in the next tutorial, actually we are going to be adding we're going to be updating all these UIs, the labels, so that the health reflect the health of the player, and the score also reflects the score of the player. So that will be all for this part of the tutorial. And don't forget, if you've gained a thing or two, don't forget to leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. Thank you and stay safe. Bye.